Good morning. We are in Job. We just read the final chapter of Daniel. Pretty awesome prophetic chapter there. End times information. I had the thought this morning about hell. You know, in that final chapter it says, some shall be raised to everlasting life and some to everlasting contempt, in that final chapter of Daniel. And I was reflecting on how people want to think that hell doesn't exist or something. Is it a reflection on your personality? I don't know, just thinking out loud, why do you not want hell to exist? I think most people don't want hell to exist because, well, there's the argument. I saw a George Carlin video just yesterday where he was making fun of the idea of God. And one of his points he makes is, how can God love you if he's going to throw you into hell, And, I understand where that guy is coming from, but I think if you took the time to read the Bible and understand what God is doing and how he has treated different groups of people throughout time, I think you obtain a better understanding of all of that. I mean, if there is no hell, then there's no penalty. There's no risk for bad behavior. There's no shame. There's no risk. You might as well do what thou wilt if there is no hell. And a lot of people push that there is no hell because they want to get everybody into heaven. And it's just, there's so many verses that indicate there is some kind of everlasting contempt or everlasting fire. Those kinds of scary verses. And we should be avoiding those things by being obedient to God. And remember how gracious he has been with us, and use our lives for the betterment of, we should be a servant to others. And we are human, we make mistakes, but don't ever let go of that there are penalties, there is discipline, there is good and evil, there's wickedness and righteousness, God does discriminate between good and evil, and he's fighting for good. The man Lucifer, he's fighting for our end and our failure, our defeat. It's a battle between those two parties, and you want to try to avoid that place. And I think that place does exist, but always trying to find some verse to make it not exist, I don't think that's fruitful. I think you should have a healthy fear of God, and to stay away from such a place. Anyway, we are in chapter 31 of Job. Let's read it. 31 of Job, verse 1. I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Doth not he see my ways, and count all my steps? If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot hath hasted to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. If my step hath turned out of the way, and mine heart walked after mine eyes, and if any blot hath cleaved to mine hands, then let me sow, and let another eat. Yea, let my offspring be rooted out. If mine heart have been deceived by a woman, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind unto another, and let others bow down upon her. For this is an heinous crime, yea, it is an iniquity to be punished by the judges. For it is a fire that consumeth to destruction, and would root out all mine increase. If I did despise the cause of my manservant or of my maidservant, when they contended with me, what then shall I do when God riseth up? And when he visiteth, what shall I answer him? Did not he that made me in the womb make him? And did not one fashion us in the womb? If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or have eaten my morsel myself alone, and the fatherless hath not eaten thereof, for from my youth he was brought up with me, as with a father, and I have guided her from my mother's womb. If I have seen any perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and if he were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless, when I saw my help in the gate, then let mine arm fall from my shoulder blade, and mine arm be broken from the bone. For destruction from God was a terror to me, and by reason of his highness I could not endure. If I have made gold my hope, or have said to the fine gold, Thou art my confidence, if I rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because mine hand had gotten much, if I beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness, and my heart hath been secretly enticed, or my mouth hath kissed my hand, this also were an iniquity to be punished by the judge, for I should have denied God that is above. If I rejoiced at the destruction of him that hated me, or lifted up myself when evil found him, neither have I suffered my mouth to sin by wishing a curse to his soul. If the men of my tabernacle said, Oh, that we had of this flesh, we cannot be satisfied. The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler. If I covered my transgressions as Adam, by hiding mine iniquity in my bosom, did I fear a great multitude, or did the contempt of families terrify me, that I kept silence and went not out of the door? Oh, that one would hear me! Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary had written a book. Oh. Surely I would take it upon my shoulder and bind it as a crown to me. I would declare unto him the number of my steps. As a prince would I go near unto him. If my land cry against me, or that the furrows likewise thereof complain, if I have eaten the fruits thereof without money, or have caused the owners thereof to lose their life, let thistles grow instead of wheat, and cockle instead of barley. The words of Job are ended.